So when it comes to selecting an MES application, Ultra more or less brings to bear our standard or classic methodology, which is to really take a look at business process instead of maybe a pure system requirements evaluation. And what I mean by that is it's important to really understand where you are, the current state, and where you want to get to, which is the future state. And it's the opportunities that you see and the gap between those two that justify ultimately the investment. But when I talk about current state reviews, especially in the realm of MES, I think it's important to really understand your processes. When you think about shop floor execution and you think about an MES application, you're ultimately going to be looking for at what points in the operation does it report? When does it make sense to report? When do I want to trigger the quality inspection? It's important to get to a very granular level of detail and understanding of how your processes work. And then inevitably, you want to take a step back from that and say, where are the gaps and where are the issues in this process? Where are the gaps in our understanding? So in the reports that come out of our applications today, the analytics that we have today, where are the gaps, right? What is the information that I'm looking for when I invest in an MES application? And then some other things, maybe a little more obvious. Naturally, you would have to look through your work cells and inventory all of those. You need to know the number of machines you want to plug into, just the same as you would need to know the number of users when selecting, say, an ERP application. And then, of course, you need to take a look at your master data structures. It's important that if you think about the metrics you want at the end, that your master data has the right values and attributes and all of that collected with it to support that. And the last one there is kind of a side note, but in many cases, MES applications, especially in kind of your high volume repetitive supply chains, can do quite a bit in terms of production labeling and getting the right labels for the right products with the right traceability right there on the shop floor. So it's important to start considering how many labels do we have, what degree, if any, do we have to change them, so on and so forth. And once you get through that stage, it's really into kind of the selection side of the equation, which is effectively taking a look at the opportunities, looking at the maps of how you want that business to run, how you want your shop floor to run, what are the control points, what are the different metrics we need, at what frequency, when in the process, and then turn that into a demo script and take that to the market and effectively challenge the vendor side out there to meet those requirements so that you can really understand what it is you're looking at. So when we talk about MES specifically, the challenges are comparable, I would say, to any other major business application. When you talk about MES specifically, though, there are a little bit of nuance that are relevant. One is the interfaces. As you understand, naturally, you have to connect the MES application to quite a few sensors and probably dozens of machines potentially, right? So you have to really think about how it's going to gather the information it needs, and then also how it's going to push the information it needs out to the shop floor. So is it going to consume a production schedule, for example? What's the application that produces that, and how do we get it in, right? So you really have to think kind of two ways from an MES integration standpoint. Obviously, the data is important. How do we keep it in sync? If, for example, operators are getting certified to run certain cells in a different system, how do we make sure that the MES application is current so that it can ensure that the right operators on the right cells? And that's just one random example, but that's something that needs to really be thought through, is how do you keep that data synced between the applications? Obviously, shop floor design, making sure that everything is moving forward and that we're embedding practices that we want in the future and not just the way we do things today. Employee readiness, obviously that's a big concern for any major business application deployed in the field, but I think extra attention is often paid in the MES world just because of the number of users it potentially impacts. If you think about your larger operations, there may be a lot of operators, a lot of technicians out there, multiple shifts. They're going to have to interface with this. And of course, you need to train them and make sure that the transition is smooth. And then, of course, the last one, testing. It's critical that the appropriate testing environments be brought together, set up, and structured so that you can have confidence as you're transitioning into a go-live state.